All right, guys, welcome to another webinar with me, Nikki Segal, and yours truly, Andrew Wallace.
Hey, guys.
This week's webinar is going to be on productivity because there's many things in business that you need to get done, marketing, sales, but productivity has to be one of the most important issues and one of the issues that we see a lot with clients where they struggle with. So we're going to talk about how to focus on the one thing to guarantee profit. And Andrew wrote a great article about doing the one thing by a book from Gary Keller. It was Gary Keller, right?
It was Gary Keller, yeah. The One Thing by Gary Keller. Great book for any of you guys out there that hasn't read it.
So we're gonna go over the article and dive a little bit deeper into what Andrew said in the article in the magazine. Or the newsletter. If you haven't received the newsletter yet, just let us know, because really these webinars are going to match what we've written in the newsletters. The goal of these webinars is not just for providing information; it's actually implementation. All right, because there's a ton of information out there, but it's absolutely useless unless you can actually implement and do something with it, right? So this is what we're going to cover today, right? We're going to cover the big question, kind of what's it all about, the entrepreneurial problem, and how to get over this. The domino effect. The domino effect is really about how to find that right piece every day so it does most of your work for you. The 80-20 rule, and then we're going to finish off with actually putting it all together and how to practically apply everything we're going to teach you on today's webinar. If you have any questions along the way, feel free to just put it into the chat box. We have a little time at the end of the webinar for some Q&A. If you just want to wait till the end of the webinar, either way is okay with both me and Andrew, right? So let's get cracking into the content. First things first is why it's so important to focus on one thing to guarantee profits. Just to be clear, right? Don't take this absolutely literally. There's loads of things you've got to do in business, right? So it's not really the one thing; it's the one thing at a time. Okay. I'm gonna just bring Andrew into this part of the webinar because he explained this quite well to his clients. Andrew, talk to me about how you feel like people actually take this one thing and what one thing really is.
Yeah, look, I love this quote from Gary Keller. I think it's important that he addresses this because the book is fantastic. It's called The One Thing, and I've recommended it to a number of you out there and a number of friends as well. But that people have took it quite literally. Well, there's more than one thing I need to do, if I think back into when I ran my fitness business, but also, today, within the business, within L180, there's always a multitude of things we need to do. And there's still times today, and I believe that I'm pretty good at managing my time, and I'm going to share, and Nikki's going to share today on how to master areas of that. But, there'll be times when I've got a number of projects that need to get over the line, and you end up procrastinating, or you start doing one thing and then you drop that to pick up something else, and you just stress levels go through the roof and you never get that thing done. So I think where it really resonated to me not that long ago was when we were needing to get the newsletter done and get that out. It was a project that we'd had on the back burner for a while, and Nikki said, look, make that your one thing, focus on it. And within a matter of, days, it was put together, packaged up, and in everyone's hands. So the key is focus one thing at a time, and parking everything else, I guess, so that you don't forget it. But then once you've ticked that off your list, onto that next one thing, and so on and so forth.
That's a real good point. It is really important to I know, for me personally, my brain, it takes about 20 minutes to almost get warmed up to a task I'm doing most times, once, let's say with email writing, for example, if that's one of my things for the day, I just can't go straight into it. I have to get it all ready and get my brain just engaged with what I'm writing. 20 minutes into it, I'm on fire, right? I can just keep going then for like maybe 40, 45 minutes. However, if I get a distraction at that point, it takes me another 20 minutes to get into that frame of mind again, right? Which is a killer. And I do have them days. And at the end of the day, I get nothing done, right? So I'm guessing everyone has these days, right? Where just things come up, distractions happen, and you just lose your track of thought. On my emails, I said on the last email, I think I told you about, I get all my creative stuff done in the morning now. I don't take clients on before a certain time because I know that's when my brain's at its best when it comes to creative things. You need to find out what the best time is for you. Come past 6 o'clock in the evening, my brain's pretty fried, man. So I don't really get much of the creative stuff done, but it's easy for me to get like administration stuff done at that time. We're gonna talk about obviously like the one project and how to break down your tasks into one thing at a time as we go through the webinar. But we really wanted to start the webinar with this saying because it makes sense, right? It's not only the one thing, it's the one thing at a time. Okay.
Perfect.
Focusing on multiple things to guarantee failure, right? Now, everyone is the biggest loser. So I wanted to use this image here because that's what happens when you try to be a serial entrepreneur, right? Now, I know it's cool and sexy to be a serial entrepreneur, but most people have not even got past the stage of like being profitable with their first project. When I say profitable, I mean like profitable for me means, does your first profitable product or business make enough passive income that if you didn't have to work, it would cover your expenses for your life? All right. And a lot of people are not even there, and they're trying to focus on the next project or the next business idea to make more money. Right. What me and Andrew see is like, if a client or anyone in business is trying to do multiple projects, but still hasn't made the first lot of passive income, then they're cutting themselves short. You know, they're focusing on too many things. They haven't figured out how to get past the walls and the mountains that you have to go get across to make the first one work. Okay, just because it's a different project, different idea, the same blocks are going to come along the way. Okay, the same blocks, like not enough customers, products not working, payment issues, all that kind of stuff, right? Just because it's a different product doesn't make it much different to the first product. So one of the things that is going to guarantee you failure is if you focus on too many things at the same time. When I had my studio, I had the same problem, right? I had boot camps, I had one-on-one, I had small groups, semi-private, you name it. I was trying to do it, and it was a mess, right? I was making money, but I wasn't profitable to the point where I was making enough passive income that if I left the business, it would pay for my life. It was only when I scrapped it all and just moved to that hybrid model of just groups, semi-private and groups, or two semi-private groups, did my fortunes really change. Okay, so it is really important to actually look at why you're doing it, and which leads us into the next section is like the big question. Okay, and if you know the answer to the big question, it gets a little bit easier for the decision-making process on how many products, how many services you actually need, and what you need to focus on, right? It all really comes down to, I say this a lot to clients, is work from the top down and reverse engineer everything rather than from the bottom up. Okay, what I mean by that is make sure you have the big vision in your mind at all times, right? Because every decision based off that will lead you in the right direction. If you're building from the bottom up, you can't kind of see where you're going. So you might get a few steps higher, thinking you're succeeding, but realizing you've took the wrong pathway. And then you got to go back down and go up the other pathway, right? Which costs more time, right? So the big question is,
what's the one thing you can do such that by doing it, everything else will become easier or unnecessary? And as Nikki said, you know, we're big on looking at planning out that, you know, that ultimate aim that you're looking to achieve, but then reverse engineering or breaking it down backwards. Don't do as I did initially, starting from the ground up, which, hey, it looks like you're great, you're busy, you're generating things, but you've got no clear direction on where you're going. And you end up just running to keep up. And it's not a great strategy to have, but at least if we understand or have an idea of the direction we're going, We can break it down into manageable chunks, but also focus on, what do I need to do today to hit my daily targets? What do I need to do this week to fit my weekly targets, for my monthly targets, my quarter targets, and so on? They're much more manageable. They're more here and now. And it helps us drive forward, which is why at the end of the day, we now look at, yes, it's important to know that big question, but drilling down into, right, what's our 90-day plan? Because that makes it more visible, more realistic, more reachable. And then we can sit down day by day, chipping away at those daily tasks to make it happen.
In the 90-day plan is really important, because I remember the times where I used to write down business plans 5 years out, 10 years out, and they would be pretty detailed. And I never really looked at them after that. Do you know what I mean? Whether they're on my laptop or whether they're in paper, they didn't really do anything for my business, right? As Andrew knows, my business plans these days are normally just drawings. I have one page and I just map it out drawings because I'm just such a visual person. But even though it's just on one bit of paper, it helps me much more than a full-scale business plan, because it's on top of mind awareness. It's right in front of me all the time. It's in an image, so it's easier for me to see, and it keeps you focused. Maybe that could be the one thing, right? That if you did that today, it would be easier to do everything else. Was just to map out a one-page kind of a business plan and work backwards from there.
I think that's great. And just adding to that was, I'm thinking back to when someone was asking me for a business plan a few weeks ago, and I duly sent it to them. But I said, look, this is what I did then. I spent 5 hours or perhaps more on it. It got shoved in the drawer. It was guesswork anyway, because I was starting a business. I didn't know how to run a business myself. I'd worked in finance and stuff, but running your own business is completely different. So it was plucked from the air figures, which mean nothing to anybody. So having, as Nicky says, that one page where you've got your doodles, your bullet point notes, and setting a number as your magic number. Let's say you want 5 clients this month, then on that one page you can then map out the tactics that you're going to take this particular month to hit those five new clients. And I feel that that's a much better way forward, and much more realistic, to be honest, because you're dealing with the here and now, as opposed to just guessing what's going to happen in the future.
Yeah, it's really important. I think even when you're setting your targets, because if you've not done it, had no experience, let's say of how many clients you want each month or customers, the business plan is kind of a dynamic tool. So it should that's why it's got to be really simple. I know we're going off topic a little bit from the one thing, but this is really important, right? If you have that very short one-page business plan and it is dynamic, you can tweak it really quickly, and it doesn't take too long to actually put together. Okay, and you can just change it, put it on a bit of A4, but now you have real numbers to base on. Let's say if you only managed to get 4 clients, or it was a good thing that you got 4 clients every month for 3 months, then you can kind of predict going forward. Okay, if I get 4 clients and retain all my clients going forward, I can kind of predict the growth pattern of my business. And that's really key in business, right? If you can predict growth, you're in a really good place. Very, very good place, right? And that's how you do it. You just base it off the one thing, the one short business plan. What are you actually doing it for? So based on that last question, is that what are you actually doing it for? Here's 3 questions to ask yourself to help you with that question. All right, just think about this for a little while. It's why do you want to own a successful business? Okay, I'm gonna say that again. Why do you want to own a successful business? Question number 2 is, what would you like the outcome of what would you like to come out of the other end of the business? So you're building this business, you're going to spend a lot of time in it. It's never easy to build a business. It comes with lots of risks, but it's definitely worth it if you know what you want out the other end. So what do I mean by the other end is, normally what's going to come out is money, and with that money you're able to buy your time back. Okay, first of all, you want enough money to live, and then enough profit to do the things you want to do in life. Once you get to that point, is you look to leverage yourself through staff, through systems, which cost more money, but then you get to buy your time back, right? And that's ultimately the goal, right? To have enough money and enough time to do the things that you want to do. That's why me and Andrew build a business. And that's what I'd say 90% of people are trying to build a business for, right? There are other things which are great in business, like helping people and stuff, but I'd say 90% is about money and time, right? And then the final question is, how can you take the easiest path to reach your objective? This is a big question. Okay, how can you take the easiest path to reach your objective? Okay, now if you've got multiple services and multiple products going on, that is not always the easiest path. If I was only selling one thing, which was one-on-one personal training, let's say, I can put all my attention, all my focus just into that one service. I'm much more likely to succeed than trying to run one-on-one groups, boot camps, or any other product. If you're not in the fitness industry, same thing, right? Focus on one core product first. You know, once you have that core product running and you're generating enough money, you're generating enough sales to kind of get people to help you with stuff, then there's a time to leverage and look at another service or another project, right? But you've got to get that first one up and running, going, and almost working without you. I was saying this to Andrew earlier on. I was like, you know what? It's really important to think of each service and product as its own business. You know, by adding another product or a service, it's almost like you're starting again, and it's another business. It takes a lot of energy, a lot of time, and it'll drive you out of the initial product or service that you originally set up, right? Which you probably just hit a wall, but instead of trying to figure out how to get over it, you've decided to go backwards and look for another path.
That's so true, and we see it time and time again. And hey, look, we've made similar mistakes, guys. So we're speaking from experience, but I think, you know, as humans, we're and especially in this day and age, you know, we want immediate results, and we see what others are doing. You know, we compare ourselves to the likes of the Joe Wicks of this world, the Dax Moyes, and anybody else who's got a successful studio or a successful business, and we want to hit the ground running and provide similar services to what they offer. But what we forget is they've been in business for a significant period of time, and they started out with that one thing, that one service, nailed that, was able to build and scale and grow their business, bringing in support staff, be it trainers, be it admin, so that they then had the time to invest into that second product, into that third product, and so on. And that's what I feel we forget these days from time to time. So it's important, as Nikki said, that, you know, get that first one up and running, get it working, get it systemized, get it profitable, and then you can replicate that and fast track the process on the second, third, fourth products or services that you bring into play.
Yeah, I think Joe Wicks was on Instagram doing his funky, how he does his meal thing for a good 2 years, right? Before it kicked off, and his 90-day shift, what was it called? Shift Shape and program. I don't know what it's called, but yeah, it was 2 years. It was 2 years of work, right? It didn't happen overnight, but he stuck with it. This is the thing, right? He stuck with it. It got better. He grew more followers. And as he got them followers, then he had his product, and he just blew up, right? So it is like the snowball effect almost, right? You stick with one idea, one thing long enough, the snowball builds up. As Andrew was saying, I mean, I'm going to be clear, we're no different. Even though we're coaching you and we're teaching this stuff, we still have run into the same problems from time to time. This is why me and Andrew have our own coach. But when we started this company, it was the same issue. We had different ideas. What should we do? But we found one that we thought, okay, we're going to stick with. We ran into a myriad of problems at the start, right? It didn't work, client, blah, blah, blah. But we stuck with it. We corrected it. We figured out different sales strategies, and it worked. It started to grow. And I'm so glad we stuck with it now, right? So, this is really kind of what you need to do. This is the whole principle of doing one thing, one project, one thing at a time, right? The big entrepreneurial problem is this, right? And we all suffer from this, how to choose a direction when you have a million ideas in your head. Okay, and here's the thing. This is why we've chosen to go in business, and this is why we're entrepreneurs, is because we have these ideas, but we have the kahunas to actually go and do something about it, which then puts you in maybe, 20% of the working population, because everyone has these ideas, but very few will actually do it, which is a good thing, right? You're in that 20%. But then you run into the next problem is, where do I start? I think Andrew touched it on this earlier on, was you have all these ideas. Not knowing where to start is the hardest thing sometimes, and if you don't know that, the days, weeks, months, and years will fly by, and you are going to be in exactly the same place. So this is a big problem that if you need to figure out a solution for, right? How do you solve this? And the way to solve this is the brain dump. I'm just going to let Andrew go through the brain dump slide right now.
Yeah, look, just following on from what Nicky was saying, when you've got a myriad of ideas and you don't know where to start, and you've got that noise in your head, as I put it, we want to silence those voices, and that's where the brain dump comes in. People ask me how often should they brain dump. There's no one set rule. It's when you feel the need. Some people might need to do it daily, some might need to do it weekly, monthly, or so on. But for me, it's whenever you've got that noise in your head that's disrupting your thought processes. And as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, you need to have that clarity, that peace of mind, so that you can focus on the bigger picture and be able to make decisions. And noise is gonna stop you from doing that. So it's on an individual basis, but ultimately the brain dump is, as it says, for those of you that it might be a new term, it's getting those thoughts, those ideas, those, oh my God, I can't forget to do that, items out of your head and onto paper. So at least you've documented them, and then you can go through that list and start drilling down, prioritizing, and so on. So as it says on the slide here, number one, listing all your potential profit generating projects. And as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, you're going to have tons of them. They're the bright, shiny objects that can pull you away from taking action. And in selecting one, it's picking the one that you have the most passion for, or picking the one that you feel that you've got the most content you can do, and actually taking that first step and doing it, as it says in slide in point 3, pick one apart the rest. But the middle portion, part 2, is mapping out what you perceive to be the potential return on investment against a timeline for each project. But the key, as I say, is get things down on paper, because then you can see clearly what's there. Then you're picking the one that resonates, the one that you feel you can get out the quickest. But you've got that list. Don't pile it in a drawer or something, but put it onto either a Word document or on a pen and a pad that you put somewhere that you can refer to easily to deal with the next on the list once you've completed that one thing that you're working on that brain dump.
So this is kind of how I would do it for myself, and this is what me and Andrew do as well. We kind of just list it out, as Andrew said, mop out ROI against the timeline. We can only estimate that and then pick one apart the rest, right? Now, going back on when I had my personal training studio, and even through Lifestyle 180, which we're coming up to about 2 years old, it takes a little while to get these things up and running, to make them profitable without you actually doing some of the work, right? I remember when I set my semi-private systems up, it was a good 9, 12 to probably a little bit longer than that, probably longer than 12 months before I had it to the point where I felt comfortable with it enough, and I had the trainers running it, that I could actually think about, okay, do I want to set up anything else? I didn't at the time, but it didn't happen overnight. The first time I set up the boot camp, it took me about 9 months to figure out how to do that and put it all together and make it work without me. So these things do take time, right? And almost sometimes an entrepreneur, like, you get bored. That's the problem, right? You get bored and you're always looking for the next idea. It's this is where you have to think, oh, how can I not do that? And think of it for what it is. This is still work. This is still business, and you got to think, how does it relate to your lifestyle more than anything else?
And I think on that as well is it comes back whenever you're having those doubts or you hit that roadblock and things, it comes back to the how, what, why. You know, asking yourself those questions that we alluded to, well, not alluded to, we shared with you earlier on in the slide, that will help you get back on track. You know, what's put that roadblock in place? How do you feel that you can overcome it? Can it be instantly overcome, or is it something, or can we find the scenic route around it to keep you driving forward, and then make a note on your brain dump to come back to the obstacle, to look at ways of breaking it down when you've got a bit more thought space available. So, but it's key always thinking of the how, what, why.
Me and Andrew love this slide, right? And this proverb, the man who chases two rabbits catches neither. I couldn't think of a better saying for entrepreneurs, right? Especially in the fitness industry as well, because we see this a lot, right? The fitness industry is it changes fast. Products and services come on the market and they go off, and people get sucked into trying to set something up. And by the time they even get to start it, another product's come up, and they chase the next rabbit and the next rabbit. And this is why you don't get anywhere. If you just stick to the one rabbit, you'll get it, and you'll get to eat that day, right? So, yeah. So I'm not saying kill a rabbit, right? It was just a metaphor. But here's what to do, right? But here's the thing that I realized when I was going through my personal training business. The first thing I had to hack was my target market. I couldn't be everything to everyone, you know, because I couldn't communicate with them the way I wanted. And this comes down to more marketing kind of thing. Is like, if you know your client, it's so easy to talk to them in their language. Okay. If you try to be everything to everyone, it's much more challenging. Even if it's, let's say, weight loss or fat loss, break that down a little bit more and go and chase them rabbits, you know. If you've got like just weight loss and it's not to a specific demographic, it's still chasing lots of rabbits. It's much harder, right? The second thing was your products and services. Hack the products and services. What if you could only have one product or one service? Okay, just think about this for a second. What if you were only allowed one product or one service, and you had to figure out a way how to make money just from that one product or one service? Just think about how much energy you could put into that one project. Okay, do you think that would make a difference if every day you got up and you know you've just got this one thing to focus on, rather than probably 10 or 20 things that are going on through your mind in the morning, right? Can you imagine what a difference that will make to how productive you are and how quickly you generate profit? It's going to be huge, right?
For sure. And just as an add-on to that, it's, you know, how often do we hear, Nikki, as coaches, when someone says, oh, I want to do this. Why do you want to do that? Because such and such is doing it. So I need to bring in semi-private training into the mix as well. But just because someone else is doing it doesn't mean that it's necessarily right for your business. And I much prefer you focus on being the best that you can be and really nailing and delivering a killer one product, be it PT, be it semi-private, or be it group, but just really becoming known as being that expert. And that's going to stand you out much higher in the pecking order than trying to be, you know, a generalist and that. So yeah, just because someone else does something, ignore that. Just focus on what you're doing. It's good to just see what others are doing, but then back on point, focus, as it says on the slide here, and deal with what you need to deal with.
It's funny you should say that. I mean, like I was talking to some clients today. One of them loves one-on-one training. That's his thing. Others never want to do one-on-one training. They just do semi-private. That's their thing, and they're both successful. Where other people who have got multiple things going on in their studio, they're just struggling a little bit. Do you know what I mean? So because they put all their marketing attention into one product at a time, which then the other product starts to drop off a little bit. You know, you can make money. You can make any service work if you just focus on that one thing. We had another client that ran football academies in Cyprus. Their main business is scholarships to the States, but it wasn't really making them any money. But they kept doing it. Do you know what I mean? So it's like they've decided to scrap it. You know what I mean? And focus on the one thing, which is really bringing their income in. Now that is going to save them so much time and attention that they can actually put all their focus and energy into the one thing, which is going to lead to more profits. And one of the things that both me and Andrew say a lot is don't get too emotionally attached to your product. Okay. And this is a big problem for most fitness professionals, because just about all of us come from being a trainer, then being a business owner, not the other way around. If you're too emotionally attached to your product, you're in trouble. You have to look at it as a product and not you delivering it, if that makes sense. In our mastermind groups, we get our clients or participants to draw up business plans if they were running a law firm, but they couldn't practice law, or they were running a coffee shop, but they couldn't pour the coffee. And we do that for a reason. We want them to think like business owners, and there's no attachment to coffee or law, right? So it's like their attachments to fitness products. So they start thinking. It's amazing what happens, right, Andrew? So what happened in our last mastermind, it was amazing to see the plans that they drew up when they weren't too emotionally attached to their product. It was awesome to see that.
It was, and to be honest, I think there's some skills there. In fact, I'm sure there's some law firms out there that would love to see the business plans that the guys put together, because they were good. And as Nicky said, it's because you're taking that step back, you're removing that emotional attachment, and you're just thinking with clarity on how would I do this. And at times that's what we need to do, because we get that sucked into the minutiae when we need to look at the bigger picture and be clear on what we're looking at. And the key thing there is focus, as it says on the slide.
Just stick it on focus. And going back to the biggest problem for entrepreneurs is having too many ideas. If you don't know what you want, ask yourself what you don't want. This is a question I used to use in coaching a lot, even with my fitness clients, was if they didn't quite know what their goals were, and I'm not sure quite what I want, then just ask them, so ask the question, tell me what you don't want, or ask yourself this. It's amazing what comes out, a lot of people that don't know where they want to go, in fitness, in life, or in business, ask them where they don't want to go, and I guarantee you the answers will just come flying out, and you need to ask yourself this question. Then all you do is flip it 180 degrees. Like if you never want to work for someone, if you don't want to be in an office 24 hours a day, then you have all the direction. Okay, now we know we don't want this. How do we build and focus on the things actually going to get you to actually where you want to get to, right? It was an amazing question that kind of worked 95% of the time for me while I was coaching clients. I still use it to this day. So ask yourself that question, if you don't know what you want, ask yourself what you don't want, and then figure out, based on that, what's the one thing that we can really put all our attention into to make it happen.
Okay, so we've got the domino effect here, and this is taken from the book, The One Thing. Obviously, we're talking about using that as our lead subject on today's call. And this comes about, and it explains it in the book, about it. I'm sure each and every one of us have seen the domino demonstrations where somebody, God knows how, has spent the time to put together thousands of dominoes all lined up together, and then they push that first one, and we watch the various shapes that they go in, the different directions that the dominoes take, and it looks an amazing spectacle. But there was actual some research done. I can't remember. I think it was in the 80s sometime, that some guy had realized or discovered that if he had a normal sized domino, and then he had one next to it which was 50% larger, and then 50% larger than that, and so on, as in the diagram here, it was that single small domino was capable of knocking down significant sized targets over time. It was taken a stage further by some American lawyers who realized that a domino just, normal size, I think about 2 inches tall, the 18th domino in size would be the size of the Leaning Tower of Pisa. 31 times down, I think it would have been able to knock something over the size of Mount Everest, and 58 times in height, it would have been as high from the sea level up to the distance to the moon. So it just shows you that I guess, consistency, chipping away at things, moving forward, getting that momentum can lead you to huge goals. And if there's a takeaway point here, it is setting those goals. Set those lofty goals that seem scary, unachievable, and then just focus on that, being that first domino, and get being consistent in doing whatever you're doing, that one thing. And before you know it, relatively quickly, you'll be hitting down big things. Just on a note on that as well, I was talking to Dee and Nikki on our management meeting yesterday about the young lad that a lot of you probably have seen on YouTube, Caleb Maddox. He'd probably be bigger than Tony Robbins in time. But he was asked in an interview I was reading in a magazine called Funnel Magazine, about sales funnels, about how is he so successful, what's his secret? And he says being consistent. He did he's done lots of talks. He did them for free just to get out there, to get the experience, to get knowing, to become the expert. He went on and he nails Facebook Live. He had 250,000 people on a Facebook Live a few weeks back. So people are always asking, what's the secret? And he says, being consistent. He did his first one, no one turned up. He did his second one, no one turned up. He did his fifth one, he had a couple of people on. And time as it grew to 10, 15, 20, 100. But then all of a sudden, everything, the synergy, the momentum kicked in, and it just blew up for him. And there was times when he felt about, is this worth it? Is it working? But because he kept at it, the next week, suddenly he was a huge success and will continue to grow. So that's where the domino effect comes into play. Having an idea, that big picture, the big goal, as we said, that big plan, and then starting small and just safe in the knowledge of being consistent. We're going to build over time that sequential knocking down of the dominoes, each one bigger and bigger and bigger, and we'll get to where we want to be.
I was just going to bring that up, man, about what we talked about yesterday, because I thought it led into this perfectly. And I like the word, success is sequential, not simultaneous. And it's like, there's many ways to describe this. So obviously, there's the domino effect, there's the snowball effect, but the point being is everything starts with one, right? Everything just starts with one webinar, one client. And as Andrew was saying about the, what was his name, Maddox?
Caleb Maddox.
Maddox. Yeah, it was just one thing at a time, right? With Joe Wicks, he started with one Instagram post, and it's the momentum, And as Andrew was saying, is like the dominoes grow, business gets bigger, right? You learn how to manage that business at bigger levels, and you can't go from you can't go straight to Z, right? You got to go A, B, C, D, E, F, G. You have to have that sequence to be successful, and that's. It's pretty much in everything, right? Not just in business. You look at martial arts, boxing, football, whatever. It's the same. For some reason, I don't know why entrepreneurs think they can take a shortcut. For me, every shortcut ends up being a long cut. It always has, right? So yeah, always, man. So I do try it. I'm not gonna lie to you, but I very, very rarely succeed in making shortcuts, right? It just takes me back a few steps.
Yeah, so that leads on to finding your 20%. Now, it's I can never pronounce his name. I think it's Pareto or Pareto's law that 80% of your success is going to come from 20% of your efforts, and it's been shown time and time again in all areas of life, all areas of business that's the case. Sometimes it might be 70-30, sometimes it might be 90-10 or whatever, but on the whole, on average, it balances out 80-20. So I like this slide because it's saying focus here, insert your desired text here, that 20% of the effort, and then you're going to get 80% of the results. In the newsletter, I was explaining how the principle worked. 20% of your investments comes from 80% of your returns. So usually account for 80% of your returns, and it's across the board. Um, and what I really love about it is that it allows us to pull away from what we know is most important. You know, how often do we get distracted? You know, you're working on something and next minute there's a ping, as an email comes in, or now it's not just emails, it's an Instagram, it's a Facebook Messenger, it's a WhatsApp. And that pulls us away. It takes our attention. And before you know it, you've seen something and you think, oh, I'm going to put a bet on that, as Nikki might look at, onto or whatever. Or it might be, oh, who signed for who? And I'm off onto the ESPN or something and checking out, you know, which player signed for which club or whatever. But it's all in all, it's pulled you away from that. So the key, as I say, is making sure that we stay focused and we block out time so that we know that effort that we're putting in, be it for half an hour, be it an hour, ideally, I would suggest if we can block out 90 minutes of time to put some concerted effort in, and then break that 90 minutes down into, say, 30-minute blocks where you do maybe 20 minutes of work, take a 10-minute breather to grab a drink or whatever, and then plow into the next 20 minutes and take time off. You're going to find significant success from that going forward.
So guys, write this down, right? So as it says on the slide, right? The goal, you have to put your own text into that part, right? So let's look at effort, right? Where do you feel if you put 20% of your effort into, or gets the maximum results? Okay, it'll get you 80% of your results. I'll give you an example. There was 20% of my client base that referred me like 80% of my business, right? They're not exact numbers, but roughly I knew who they were. Okay. So I put all my attention into servicing them a little higher, a little better, and making sure that they got the referral offers and everything almost better than everyone else, because I knew where my energy was required. Does that make sense? They got a few extra gifts. I was definitely more aware of when the kid's birthday was, and then it worked. Okay, it worked. Okay, so 20% of my effort would be to work on, I just listed down those clients that referred me the most. And I was like, okay, I need to work these clients because I know they're going to refer me more of my business. And I'd say about 60-65% of my business came from referrals. Okay, so put yours down. Where do you feel like your effort is going to get you the 80% result that you require? Okay, and then you just block out time, as Andrew was saying, and just focus on doing that one thing in that time block. Okay, and going right to the very first slide, it's not just one thing. Literally, it's one thing at a time, you know? So make sure you block that time out and you just do that one thing. For me, I just have lots of white space. So once I've done that that one thing, I have about half an hour to an hour where I can check ESPN, or I can check the football, I can check so it allows me that break. It allows my brain to recharge. And because I know I've got that white space coming ahead, it allows me to focus more on the time I'm doing my work. If I was back to back, then that don't really, that's not kind of how I want to live my life or live my day. It does happen now and then, but I mean, like 2-3 days of that, then I'm dead almost, you know. I need to almost take a day off to recharge my batteries. I don't enjoy that. So fill in the blanks, and then if you want to share it with me and Andrew, it'd be awesome. We'll help you with that, right?
That'd be good. Can you just flick back to the slide again?
Yeah, sure.
I love this because it gives you total clarity. So, for example, I was talking the other day with somebody, and they were saying, "Oh, where should I? You know, what social media should I start with? I've got Facebook, I've got YouTube, I've got Instagram. Should I be on Snapchat? Blah blah blah." Well, this clearly shows you then that, right, if I put my main focus on that one thing, then where can I get the results from? So I like this for all areas of life, not just business. That you know, if you're out looking for a significant other, you know, look at the types of person that you want to thing and focus that effort there, or have a hopefully a desired effect for those of you that are looking for a partner.
I like it.
We'll take our 10% from that, our finder's fee or whatever from that. But yeah, it's a good graphic to bring it back to, and as Nikki says, fill in those bits.
Yeah, just if you struggle in the morning, just go to the slide, fill it in, and get to work. You'd be amazed at how that can really focus your mind. Okay, so sticking with the 80-20 rule, these are some of the tasks that are likely to get you 80% of the results, right? If it's not in here, then it's probably worth not doing some of the stuff, right? So this is what gets most results: is finding new clients, finding new business, right? In my diary, there's always time for what I call creating clients. I will be thinking, and that's really marketing and sales, right? And it's like, how do I create clients? Where do I need to look? What offers do we need to make, and so on and so on. So it comes down to marketing, sales, and kind of improving your product and service to maintain current clients. For me, like retaining clients comes under creating clients as well. Always looking to retain clients pretty much more than actually finding new ones, I'd say. I know Andrew's big on this as well, right? So
yeah, because this, I think, I would suggest, guys, that you print this slide off. We're going to upload the slide and this recording into the membership site, so you can listen again and find the actual slide deck. But if you get challenged in your business, it's going to be these three main themes: finding new clients, finding new business, finding ways to leverage profits, improving your business ownership skills. Because if you're struggling for leads, then finding new clients is a problem. So you need to drill into improving your marketing. So your focus, if client generation or lead generation is a problem, then you need to focus on the marketing element of that. If you're getting enough leads in, but you're not selling enough, then sorry, I've got my phone pinging in my ears there. If you're not you've got enough leads, but you're not selling, then we need to look at sales training or look at your sales system. And it's the same with finding ways to leverage profits. Maybe generating leads is not a problem. You've got enough leads and enough clients to manage at this moment. You can't take on anymore, but you're not at the level of profits or revenue you want. Well, that's where you need to look to leverage to increase your profits, raise your rates, or bring in some assistants, train staff members up so that they can take on, it opens up your capacity to take on more clients. Or maybe you're with the systemization side of things, everybody's running around like a headless chicken and you've not got any operations or procedures in place. Well, you can streamline and make your business more efficient on that. So I wholeheartedly recommend you print this or make a note of these key areas, because if you look at them, they reflect problems within a business, and then you can drill down into each one and then pinpoint where your problem lies and focus on that particular piece, get that nailed, and then move on. Now, I would say that everything becomes rosy then, but as we know in business, there's always another problem that comes along. But using this, it'll help you break down those problems and resolve them as quickly as possible.
Yeah, a couple of things I'm going to touch on there is trying to do all this at the same time is tough, right? So like finding new clients and learning how to create clients is probably the first thing any business owners need to do, even way before they start leveraging themselves. If you don't know that, it's very difficult to build a business. And that's where a lot of people get stuck, and it comes back down to that rabbit diagram, right? When you're doing your marketing, chasing too many different ways to market and nothing really working. And I say this a lot. I always use that Bruce Lee quote is like, I don't fear the man that knows 10,000 kicks. I fear the man that's practiced one kick 10,000 times. And that so relates to marketing, man. It's like, it's ridiculous how quickly like Facebook and social media change. Honestly, I don't really understand any of that stuff personally, but the principles I use are exactly the same that I used back in 2002. They haven't changed one bit. And it still works, right? So you make your marketing principle based, right? Over like the latest things. I think me and Andrew might only use like two, 3 marketing streams. That's it, but we put all of our attention into that thing. And it's like, again, we just do one thing at a time, right? If I know I'm on Facebook, that's the one thing I'm doing, right? I do not do Facebook and emails at the same time. There's just it just doesn't kind of work. Sometimes I use the same content, but I just make sure I focus on that one thing at that one time. Leveraging profits is actually building a team and systemization. When I developed my first coach to help me, I already had a good sales and marketing system in place. Okay, so I didn't have to focus on that. I had to focus on how do I now start to build a team. I didn't know how to do it at the time. It was all new to me. So it took a lot of energy, right? A lot of emotional energy because I didn't really know what I was doing. Fortunately, I had my own mentor at that time who helped me massively and guided me in the right direction. But it was still new to me. So it was tough. And again, it took me 6 to 9 months to get that over the line. Then that improved me as a business owner, right? It was a little bit easier to get the second one going. But as I started growing my team, as Andrew was saying, it's not always rosy. There's other problems. My marketing system didn't work to the level I needed to get 2 trainers for. And you get to 3 trainers, you need to ramp up the marketing sales, right? So you need to basically, at that point, it was just spending more money on advertising. So it can be really simple. It doesn't have to be super complicated. But it just as one thing gets stronger, it's almost like training, right? If you're going to strengthen your chest and pecs, then you need to strengthen your back, all right? Otherwise, you're going to get a postural imbalance, right? For all you corrective exercise guys, don't take that literally. I know there's loads of different. Yeah. I'm just saying, right? Just using it as an analogy is you have to train like the inner core as well as the outer core to stay in balance, and it's the same with your business, right? As you grow your team, you're going to need to go back and look at different parts of your business and start to improve that. All that will improve your business ownership skills, right? As you go along. Okay, so we're going to wrap this up and go into the practical application. How can we put all this together and just get you to focus on the one thing, right? So here's what to do, right? Just decide on just one profit generating project. Okay, go back to that brain dump and just write down on all the projects that you're working on. Next to it, what's the return on investment against the timeline? Okay, how long do you roughly think it's going to take to get to that point? And as Andrew was saying, and as I was saying earlier on, just put it onto one bit of paper and do it in a diagram rather than write out a massive business plan. It's just not worth it, right? Because it's going to change. It'll change over time, right? And a rapid time. And then think about, okay, if the law didn't allow me to do anything but that one thing, how am I going to make money off that project? And that's the thing. If you set your mind to it, that's the only one thing you can do. You'll be amazed at getting up every morning, how clear you are with the tasks you need to get done. And what you focus on generally improves. Okay, what you focus on and what you measure generally improves. So they're the 2 things you want to do: is focus on it and then track it. Okay, always track as much as you can, just like you would do with the client's body fat, weight, and other fitness measurements. Same thing in your business, right? How do I measure the performance of each part of my business? Once you know those numbers, decision making is a little bit easier, right? Block time out and find an environment where you can work on that one project or the sub project, because again, you're not taking it literally. It's just not one thing. It's like there's lots of subtasks to do per one project. So, and as an example, if my one project was developing an in-home one-to-one personal training business without me having to work on it, okay, and I had nothing up and running, this is what I would do. I spend an hour or 2 on strategic planning. Now, planning might include, okay, I need to find some coaches to do this. I need to find clients to match with the coaches. I need to get all that stuff. I'm just planning out how I'm going to do anything, right? I'll take a break for at least an hour. For me personally, it can be different for you. Then I might think, okay, then my next one thing is to work on the marketing strategy and application. Same with operations, which would be like how I'm going to collect money, how I'm going to sort out the admin and stuff like that. And then the other thing would be scalability and leverage, which I kind of touched on in the strategic planning in terms of, okay, how am I going to get staff to service my clients that I'm going to get from my marketing? But these things won't be done in the same time block, if that makes sense, right? They'll be done in different time blocks. And because they're done in different time, it allows my brain just to focus on that one thing, right? If that's all I could do, if that's the only project I had was to have in-home one-on-one personal training, and I put all my attention into it, I can guarantee within a year I would have that up and running, making a profit. You know, if I had that plus a boot camp, then maybe not. Maybe not. And just because me and Andrew are coaching this doesn't make it any different. We're no special. We're just like you, right? Just exactly the same. We have the same problems as everyone else. But we've just have a little bit more wisdom and experience of doing this, which allows us to say no a lot more. And that's if you look at successful entrepreneurs, they say this a lot, right? They say no most of the time. And that's why they're so successful with the one thing that they tend to do. Okay, final thoughts. Andrew, you got any final thoughts to finish off? We've just got a few questions here. Just final thoughts before we go into questions.
No, look, hopefully, guys, it's giving you clarity on when we talk about the one thing, that it's, one thing at a time, as opposed to just one thing that you've got to do. There's always many things, and it's putting them into priority and then chipping away at them. But if you've not read the book, certainly go and grab a copy, because I would suggest it's certainly in my top 10 business books of all time, possibly in my top 5. It's a key guide, I guess, for us to become more productive, become more clear, and to race towards the target that we're aiming at.
So we got a question here from from Ishmael. Andrew, he says, what do you do if you find another profitable business idea just pops up? What's the best thing to do at that point?
It's a good question, Ismail. Look, again, it comes down to what we were saying before. If you've got the capacity to invest time and resources into following that particular piece, then great. Break it down into manageable chunks. Devote assets, people, yourself, time to doing that, and go for it. More often than not, the size of the businesses that we generally have, and certainly the size of businesses that Nikki and I coach, often and not, we have these ideas, and I call them bright, shiny objects. Now, that's not to say that it's not profitable. It might not just be something that we're able to devote that time to right now. So, as Nikki said earlier, park it, make a note of it, so that you can refer back to it when you're doing your quarterly planning, annual planning, and so that you're able at the appropriate time to invest into it. Then you can do so then with the time that it deserves. Because if it's a profitable idea now, it's going to be a profitable idea when you come round to doing it.
Yeah, it's nicely put, man. And as Andrew was saying, resources make a difference. If it's just you or you have a small business, resources are going to be tough. If you have a bigger team, it gets a little bit easier. Another question from James is, I have the problem of chasing 2 rabbits quite a lot. What I do, and that's good. As I was saying, James, earlier on, it's like, look, don't try to become a serial entrepreneur too quick. If you can master the first bit and just become I don't know if you know if this is a word, but a single entrepreneur, right? Just build one passive income stream. And here's the key thing, right? Is, can you build that passive income stream to the level that matches your current life's expenses? So let's say if it costs you $3,500 a month to cover every single expense when I say expense, I just don't mean bills and mortgage and cars. I mean everything. Like, you're going out, you're buying clothes, your holidays and stuff like that, right? If you can create passive income to match that, then that's when you're truly financially free. All right, because if you didn't have to work, everything's still paid for. If you get to that point, which is probably the hardest point, then at that point I'd say, okay, you're ready to become a serial entrepreneur. Okay, because you now have the money and the time, right? You've created that passive income that's going to cover what I tend to call survival mode, right? What you need to survive. So your mind's a lot freer. You're a lot more secure. You start thinking different. You think a lot different when you don't need money. Okay, the business decisions you make are very different at that point as well. So in answer to your question is, if you want to chase 2 rabbits, do it only once you've created that first passive income stream, which matches at least your current living expenses.
Perfect.
Okay, so that's the end of today's webinar. Like we said, hopefully you got a lot out of it, but it's about implementation rather than just the information, right? If you're just going to watch this and do nothing about it, it's going to be absolutely useless, right? If you just put at least some of the ideas into it, then then great, you're going to move your business forward, right? My final thoughts are just do the one thing, do it well, and crack on with your business.
Great stuff. And look, guys, as I say, this has been recorded. We'll put it into the membership site so you can listen again. And those guys that haven't been able to listen to it, they've obviously got the capacity to. And the slide deck will be in as a PDF as well, so you can read through elements and pull out the key bits that we referred to earlier on. But hey, Nicky, where did that hour go?
It flies by once you start talking, huh? So it's like
but hopefully, guys, you found it useful. Any questions, ping us a note in the Facebook group, or to Nicky at lifestyle180.co.uk, or myself, Andrew, at lifestyle180.co.uk, here to help. Thanks again for your time, and we'll get to see you all and speak to you all very soon.
Have a great week. Speak to you later. Bye bye.